Okay, hello, we're ready to go. 2 o'clock on the dot for week 2 of the free online classes for the October series of How to Make Time for Yourself Without Sacrificing Anything. And so, as I explained last week, come back from a hiatus, having time off doing these classes, and I have had a few questions about a few changes that have occurred. So just for me to set the record straight and make it all very clear, I had launched a YouTube channel and made a series of 7 public videos in a series called Behind the Emotion, which looked at healing from emotional exhaustion and some practical skills to be able to use in your emotional toolkit for mental health and well-being. And then a few other things have happened in my life since then. So while I released the 7 videos, the actual public channel production has been put on hold until I'm able to have more time dedicated into the world of video production. So at this stage, I've restarted these classes, but I'm providing them just for you. So you will have, if you're here live and you're not receiving the replays, you can actually request the replay link. If you email support@jadesterlingcoaching.com. If you are receiving the replays or you listening to this on the replay, then you obviously have received your link, and it is a private link that you're welcome to share if you do find that any of these classes would be beneficial for anybody in your life, or you feel there's the need to share them, then please do. There's absolutely no restriction on that, but I'm not actually making these videos public as such at this time. So public YouTube channel videos will come back in the future, but for now I'm just wanting to focus on making the content just for you. And so, yes, I can put in the chat that email address if you want to reach out and jump on my email list to receive the replays. It's support@jadesterlingcoaching, which is all one word, .com. And so the chat is open. I'm really not going to be monitoring that throughout this class. Feel free to chat if you have anything to say. I will be checking the Q&A box though. So the Q&A box is open and ready for your questions if you are here live. If you do find that you've got any questions that pop up and you're listening to the recording, then please feel free to email me at that email address, support@jadesterlingcoaching.com. For those of you who haven't actually met me before and not familiar with the work that I do, I am Jade from Jade Sterling Coaching. I am a positivity coach. I'm a nurse, I'm a counsellor, I am a yoga therapist and a wife and a mum. I bundle all of my skills and my work experience and my life experience into these classes just for you. I also provide individualized coaching packages. I run group classes, online events and retreats, all of which support you to move into the best version of yourself that you possibly can. And so today week 2 of our October series, How to Make Time for Yourself Without Sacrificing Anything. Last week, in week 1, we actually looked at how small moments of self-care make big changes to how we feel on the inside, no matter what's happening on the outside. Small moments, repeated many times, become continuous. And so, if you were live with me last week or you were able to listen to the recording, then I hope you've been able to have even a micro moment, a smaller than small moment, to be able to take and experience this for yourself. Definitely let me know how this is working for you. And so, today the topic of this class today is how to get your head in the right place. And what I'm going to be teaching you and talking to you about is how we use our brains. I'm going to try and simplify a seemingly complex concept, but just break it down in little pieces so that we can learn how to use our brain effectively so that we can enjoy our life. Sound good? So it might sound like it's a bit too good to be true, but there is a tool that exists to help you live a happy life. And what more do we want, really? I do find that I've been thinking about this a lot lately and just wondering why we don't get taught this in school, particularly as adults, but it's right across the board in ages nowadays with the incidences of mental health and well-being decline and diagnosis, that possibly if we were able to teach people how to use a tool that they already have, by the way, the tool is your brain. It's just about how to apply it to live a happy life. Then I feel like we would just be able to mitigate so many problems and issues that are happening mentally and emotionally and developmentally as we grow into adulthood. This is a dream of mine that I will continue to wave a flag and pioneer towards. So this model that I use and the concept that I teach you actually shows you how you can use your brain to be happy. And look, I'm not talking about using your brain to achieve a self-pleasure in like a selfish way. It's more about using your brain to access, that pilot light within you that you're born with. It's the spark and the essence of who you are, and using your brain in the right way can help keep this light alive and keep it warm and lit up and connected. Does that sound good? So this model that I'm going to share with you is actually a graphic, but I'm not going to show you the graphic and the whole model in its entirety today. I do actually talk through the whole concept in my 6-week coaching packages and my retreats and my workshops. But today we're just going to take a little bit of the essence of, I'm really building up suspense here, it's called the positivity model. And it is a model that was designed and created by one of my teachers, my coach, my mentor, Dr. Paul Jenkins. Now, if you have not come across Dr. Paul Jenkins, look him up. You'll find him on YouTube at Live on Purpose TV. He's got a podcast, Live on Purpose Radio. He's got a website that actually is like a gym membership for your mind and your heart. And that's called Live on Purpose Central. So look him up. This model itself is a formula for creating and living a life that you love. And it works. It totally works. And it works for everyone, I promise you. But there is a catch. It only works if you apply it. So there is a difference between knowing it and applying it. Now, this model highlights how your life experience is a choice. But as Dr. Paul says, until you see it as a choice, it's not. It can be heavy to digest at first, but just settle into it and stick with me for now. Because notice that I said life experience. Your life experience is a choice. So I'm talking about how it feels on the inside. Because we all have lots of things happening on the outside, and a lot of things happening on the outside that we don't actually choose. We don't actually ask for. Thank you very much. Certainly I can think of some things off the top of my head that we don't choose on purpose. We don't choose the cancer. We don't choose our spouse passing away. We don't choose our child having an illness. But while we don't get to choose what's happening on the outside, we do have a choice of how we experience it on the inside. You can choose peace. You can choose gratitude. You can choose joy. Now I'm going to be coming back to this because it's all about mindset. It sounds simple, but when things are feeling heavy, it's not easy to actually be able to see through the clouds. We're going to move through the clouds today. So when we're looking at our topic for this month, which is self-care, often we think we don't have enough time, enough money, enough space, or even a clue of how to think about how we're actually going to meet this need. And this is an example of a scarcity mindset. We don't have enough. It's about where our mindset is at. And so what I'm teaching is a way to be able to access the part of your brain where abundance lives and joy is possible, even in the face of cancer. So, looking at the positivity model, we're going to keep it really simple today to just give you something that you can work with and something that you can think about rather than just give you too much information that you might forget or overwhelm you, because that's not my intention. I want to actually give you something tangible to use in your life and apply in your life. And so to discuss the positivity model, we start by discussing natural law. And so there are natural laws that exist in the world and principles that exist in this world without us having to do anything. Dr. Paul's example is gravity. It's a great example. Gravity is a natural law. We don't have to think about it. It exists whether we think about it or not. We don't even have to wake up in the morning and wonder if it's on, because we know that it is. And if you believe in it or not, if you walk off a cliff, you're going to go down. So gravity is a really great example of a natural law. Now, there are two other natural laws that exist in this world and operate for us as human beings, and they are evaluation and creation. So evaluation is how we determine who we are and where we are in the world, and creation is what we do with that information and how we create the internal experience of our lives. So when we are in evaluation mode, that sets us up for going into creation mode and what we're going to create. Now, we're not taught this in everyday life. While I've been learning this work myself, I realized that yogis have been teaching this stuff for eons. I personally have spent most of my life trying to get my head around yoga philosophy and principles and yoga texts, and realize that it's just the positivity model. Whether or not you're on that particular path, the suffering and the struggle of everyday life is real. And so Dr. Paul's model just makes sense, and it explains these natural laws or these principles in a way that we can all understand and apply in our own lives. So when life happens, and life happens, we don't get to choose what's happening out there. Whatever's happening around us, whatever is happening, is a circumstance. So that's an important word, because a circumstance is a fact of what is going on. So a circumstance is a way of describing something that you can prove in a court of law. Dr. Paul calls a circumstance what it is. And now you've heard it is what it is. Well, what it is are the facts. They're the circumstances of what's happening outside you. Now, the facts, or the circumstances, are not actually good or bad. They're just neutral. That is really important to be able to identify and get your head around. Circumstances are only what you think they are. So I hope you can follow that. Nothing outside of you is good or bad. It's only what you think it is. It's what your brain does with the facts to decide whether it is good or is bad. Then that creates a thought. Now that thought releases chemicals into our bloodstream, and those chemicals become a feeling. And then our feelings then tell our body what to do, and then we act based on how we're feeling. So, in a nutshell, all circumstances are neutral, and then our thought decides if it's good or bad. That creates how we feel, which then informs what we do, and then that becomes the result of what we experience in our daily life. I think this is the most important part of the model to get our head around first. Most important concept. And I just keep saying it over and over again. Circumstances are neutral. This sentence has changed my life. Nothing is good or bad. It is what it is, but what it is, the meaning that you give it, and what you think about your circumstances is what it becomes on the inside. Now, when you can get your head around that, it is a game changer. So please feel free to pop any questions in. I've got so much to cover today that I like to keep these videos short so that they're watchable and you're able to absorb them. So if I barrel through, just pop your hand up if you need to. So when you can start to become aware of your thoughts, that's the place to start. Before you do anything, before you change anything, before you want to make changes on the outside, just start to become aware of your thoughts and what you're thinking on the inside. What are you thinking about the circumstances in your life? Are you thinking they could be better? Things could always be better, by the way. We never get there. There's no end to that. Things can always be better. But when you have that thought, things should be better, they could be better, I'd like them to be better, that actually makes you feel worse on the inside about what you do have. Now, if you're thinking, well, things could be worse, and things could always be worse too, it's two sides of the same coin. But this perspective, things could be worse. And actually, while people don't want to go there and think of the worst case scenario, I've actually found that to be such a helpful tool. When you can go to the worst case scenario, you actually feel better on the inside about what you do have. So this is about your mindset, and it's about how your mindset can fully transform a painful situation into peace on the inside. I've got some examples that I've just jotted down here that I wanted to share with you. An example of this work in action, I had a workshop earlier this year where one of the participants had had cancer 3 times and really couldn't get into her head why this was happening to her, and was just not enjoying the experience of cancer. I can't expect anybody to enjoy the experience of cancer, but she was getting a lot more mental and emotional pain as well as the physical pain from her thought that we identified as, my body is failing. And we wrote it up on the board and we looked at it and we said, oh, how does that feel? My body is failing. It's like, oh, that feels just awful. And it's going to happen again. I'm going to lose the battle. And then we spiral downhill from there. I said to her, do you know what? You're still alive. You've beat cancer 3 times. That is amazing. My perspective on that is your body is succeeding. Your body is doing it. Your body is fighting this cancer. That thought offers a feeling of relief. It offers a feeling of hope, almost inspiration, as opposed to my body is failing, which is just fear and defeat. Another example is I had a one-on-one client who came to me for weight loss issues, just body image issues, and wanted to make changes about herself. And we identified a thought that she was having over and over again. I'm overweight, I'm deconditioned, and I really need to get into shape. And this was making her feel very anxious, hopeless. There was a lot of shame there. So we just rearranged that thought to look at something that might work for her to make her feel like she wanted to feel inspired. She wanted to feel motivated. So the thought that we were able to come up with for her was, I'm ready for change. So she didn't like what was happening on the inside or on the outside, but as opposed to focusing on all the bits that she didn't like, I'm overweight, I'm deconditioned, she realized that, well, now I'm in this position for change and I'm ready for change. And that thought became empowering for her. The same client had the thought, I can't afford to go to the gym. I've got no time, no money. It's not an option. And this also gave her feelings of anxiety and hopelessness and shame. The thought that we found to actually be able to move her forward was, I have a great footpath around my neighborhood and all I need to do is walk. I don't need a gym. I have a gym in a footpath and I have the shoes and I have what I need. And really it's going from that scarcity mindset to, I have what I need. I have a footpath, I have shoes. And that created possibility for her and an opportunity for something new. And it was inspiring and motivating for her to move forward. My own personal favorite thought that just keeps coming back is, I don't get any time to myself. And that just makes me feel tired and drained. And it emphasizes how time poor I am. So when I find that thought creeping in, I flip it because I realize things should be better. Things should be better. And then I feel worse. And I'm like, they could be worse. They could be worse, actually. And identifying that the reason I don't have time for myself is because I have a family that love me. They actually adore me intensely. They love me so much that I don't have any time to myself. But would I want to be without them? No. So that just helps me, puts me in a better mindset to be able to just settle into that and go, oh, things could be worse. I could not have my beautiful family that I have. Settles me down and helps me be able to move forward. The other thing that I thought that I'd just throw in there too, was that if I can't find a moment for myself, my problem usually is that I feel like I don't have enough time inside my own head. But then I've realized along the way that my head comes with me everywhere I go. So when I feel overwhelmed and I don't get any, have those days where I don't have any time to myself at all, if I can just close my eyes, inhale in through the nose, smell the flower, exhale out through the mouth. We can either blow out the candle, we can blow the petals like we talked about last week. And I repeat that often. I am finding moments inside my head often. And those little moments repeated many times become continuous and has really shifted such an emotional weight for me when I realize that that is me taking care of myself. And the more that I do it, the more I feel connected with myself. That little pilot light is a flame and it's warm and it's safe. And it just makes me feel content and even happy at times. It becomes automatic. That's joy. That's joy right there. So what I'm describing here with working with our thoughts is the evaluation principle in action of the positivity model. Now, the evaluation principle takes you into creation mode. And if your mindset is in the space where you can settle into a positive feeling, that affects your whole nervous system. And so if your nervous system is calm and open and settled, as opposed to feeling stressed and anxious and fearful when we are feeling that things should be better and we're tense and we're tight and we're closed and we're in a space where we react rather than respond, that is when we act from a place where, from feelings that inform actions where the thinking part of the brain's not really engaged. We don't show up as the best version of ourselves in these circumstances. And we think, what was I thinking? And quite often we weren't. We're going to go a little bit more down the nervous system rabbit hole as we go along, but that's just something to think about today. So we can actually use this way of thinking, it should be better, could be worse, to settle down our nervous system and get us in the right space to move into creation mode. Now, there is a catch with everything that I'm talking about, of course. And before I said it's about application, but it's about the correct application. The catch is when you recognize a thought that's not serving you, when you start to observe your thoughts, you'll start to go, oh my gosh, I say that to myself every day. And if you decide, I want to replace that thought, I want to do what that lady did with her cancer, or I want to do what that person did about their self-care or their body image, I want to replace these thoughts, you have to genuinely believe the new thought that you replace it with. It really has to be something that you connect with deeply and you can think that is true even a little bit, because if it's not, you offer your brain a new thought and you don't believe it, then there won't be any change. This works on so many levels, but in a nutshell, if I go back to the example of my client who had the thought, I'm overweight, I'm deconditioned, I need to get into shape. She had already tried to replace that thought with, I'm awesome, just the way I am. That's what she came in going, look, I know that, it's about me just loving myself and I'm awesome just the way I am, but I don't like myself. I don't like the way I am. So this wasn't working for her at all because she couldn't convince her brain that she did think that she was awesome just the way she was. Her brain was like, nah, you're still overweight, you're still deconditioned. So it wasn't engaging her brain to move her forward to make any change. So when we found that thought that worked for her, I'm ready for change now. I'm in this position and I'm ready for change. That was empowering, and it just removed all of the layers for her. It particularly removed the urgency that she had to change right now and the desire to get out of this shameful feeling that she was feeling. She just settled down and she realized that I have choice and I would like to choose to move forward now. There was no rush to get anywhere and it was just an empowering desire to move forward. So that's just a brief snapshot of the evaluation principle of the positivity model. And I'm not going to be talking about creation mode today, but I do hope that this information, I think it's enough just in one little bite-sized class to be able to get your head around creating an awareness about how you're using your brain at the moment. What are you thinking? How are you showing up every day for yourself? So we'll leave it there for the positivity model. If you would like to learn more about the positivity model, and there's some other amazing tools that I use and I put into my programs, if you would like to move forward away from emotional pain and move forward into peace and clarity and even find that joy, if you feel like your pilot light's gone out, please do remember that you can book a free 30-minute curiosity call with me. It's a one-on-one call via Zoom where we just have a chat and we see whether any of this work might be helpful and beneficial for you, whether my 6-week personal empowerment coaching program might be a good fit for you. So don't hesitate to reach out for me if any of this work resonates with you. So the Q&A has been quiet, and if there's no questions today, I will just leave you with a quote that Dr. Paul says, which I love. He says, "You don't have to change a thing. You have to change a think." Love that. Hope this has been helpful. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.